Two of my favorite. Rod, you heard Gary McFadden.
Sure.
Interesting concept, bringing people to the table who normally aren't there. I mean, we know that there are sort of people who have influences who aren't elected officials, who may not be known to the public or the media. Is that a step in the right direction?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you bring people to the table who traditionally have not had a seat at the table, it's going to help. But I must say, though, Charles, that the people in the city of Charlotte and Ferguson and Baltimore, they have to take responsibility for their own communities as well. I mean, let's look at Chicago and these other communities where the black-on-black crime is just, really, really out of control. So, it's easy to sit up here and say, well, everybody needs to come to the table and everybody needs to have a voice in this. But again, people have to take responsibilities for their own communities, and they need to clamp down on some of the craziness that's going on in their own communities. And let me tell you, burning down the local businesses clearly is not going to help the situation.
Steve, of course, this is something we've seen played out over and over and over again. It's not recent. I hate to say it, but we saw the complete burning down of Newark, Watts, and a whole lot of other neighborhoods that never really came back. The community there, some of these things start off as peaceful vigils, at least they're advertised as that. They're always agitators and opportunists. What should be done with them? Because I'm thinking some of the video that I saw, some of the attacks on people, I thought I saw hate crimes last night where mobs of black kids, young black men beating up old white people or older white people, intimidating them. Should there be a major crackdown on the people who take advantage of these situations, even more so than normal?
Yes, they should be immediately arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But let me say this to you also, Charles, that this is not, the police are not at fault, the people are not at fault. It's the political leaders that are at fault who promise so much to so many, and you just said this, over all these years and have not delivered the help they need. There is a reason why we have these problems. No excuse for violence. But when politicians year in and year out promise the people that are being affected very negatively by their policies, and the poor cop that has to go out on the street and help protect these people and protect themselves is caught in the middle, we have chaos.
Right. I mean, Rod, that's exactly what the police chief of Dallas said, that they wear a multitude of hats, and everyone ultimately it all comes down on them. You've talked about the communities part here. I personally think that they probably should have clamped down on this sooner. I think there's got to be harsh penalties for the things that I saw last night, the looting, the rioting, the harming of other people, the assaults. That might curb this, wouldn't it?
Well, you know what? It may to a certain degree, but then again, at the same time, it may even agitate the situation. Here's the bottom line. We cannot have a community in chaos. We have laws in our society that people have to abide by. If they don't like the laws, then they run for political office and they change the laws. You don't burn down buildings and you don't throw rocks at police officers. Look, I'm not making excuses at all for some of the behaviors of the police officers, but at the same time, the community has to take a certain amount of responsibility, Charles, for what's going on in its own community, and you can't lay that blame at the feet of the police department.
All right, guys, thank you both very much. I really appreciate it. Up next, the plight of